boy, Toxie's back, baby. Hi everyone, it's Sarah here, and today I am bringing you a review and breakdown of Legendary's take on the classic Toxic Avengers film. Before I begin though, please give us a quick like, share and subscribe to the channel, and that's it. Slip on your pink tutu, we're about to get funky. So, while I wouldn't call the Toxic Avengers a major franchise, it does have its loyal fans and a pretty wide expanded cinematic universe, including 4 main films, 2 spin-offs in the form of a Nukem High and a cartoon series, Toxie and His Crusaders, which is bananas if you consider it started off as a low-budget affair from a small indie studio. Tromaville, the location for all these absurd sci-fi comedies, is a place where everything wrong with America and American society lives and breathes to its fullest. From corruption to pollution, RFK has wet dreams about this place. As conspiracy nutjobs run the news and the citizens are so beaten down that they don't even have the energy to fight back against the government overlords. That is until one fateful day when a single father named Winston finds himself gifted suddenly with extraordinary powers. The film is both hilariously great and also super bad, which just adds to its charm. One of those films where the writers and directors were given full creative force and just went for it. So bad you can't look away half the time, and other times, moments of genius, just like Toxie himself. The narrative is pretty simple. The DTH corporations, which has ties to political and criminal empires, has been putting out all sorts of pharmaceutical miracle cures for all sorts of alignments, while simultaneously not abiding by any health codes or regulations, and dumping all the leftover toxic waste into the local lake and playground. Winston works for the company as a janitor, and finds out he's got cancer. Since his plan is a platinum healthcare package, not the platinum with the gold tier, his treatment isn't covered, and so he's got no choice but to rob the place. Oh no. He gets caught and dumped into some toxic sludge, and when he emerges, he has become the Toxic Avenger. Chaos ensues, many people die, and eventually the day is saved? Well, as saved as anything can be in Tromaville. Okay, spoilers are coming. Spoilers are inbound. Please skip to the timestamp on the screen if you want to avoid any. I'll give you a quick moment just in case you can't find your remote. Okay, still here. Alright, also, small disclaimer, there's a lot of gore in this film and nudity, so I'm going to be very limited to how many clips I can actually show. The film opens up on some exposition Batman-style narration by our main protagonist, Winston Goose. A single stepfather working a shit job as a janitor cleaning up toxic waste and whatnot at the big pharma company in town, DTH. His wife, a former rock star for a metal band, died unexpectedly from cancer, and he's left raising her son, who's kind of a performing artist himself, if you take that term loosely. He does his best. Well, not too long after, he receives even more bad news, when a buffoon of a doctor informs him he's got some kind of cancer too. They actually don't say what it is, they bleep it out with the sound of construction going on outside that accidentally kills someone, but it definitely in the brain area. However, there's an experimental cure that could possibly save his life and his insurance should cover it. Except it doesn't. Even though he's on the platinum level, it doesn't cover the same things as the gold level, which is actually beneath it. So instead, he should have signed up for the platinum plus gold with the second silver tier, and well, this just gives poor Winston an even bigger headache. Thinking about his stepson, he begins to feel the desperation settle in, but before he does anything drastic, he makes one more attempt at maybe getting some good luck on his side for once. He heads to a swanky restaurant downtown where they are hosting a big awards banquet for the DTH's founder, Bob Garbinger. He seeks a private audience with him and begins laying out his life, how loyal he's been to the company, how he's a single parent, yada yada, and surprisingly, Bob says he'll see what he can do, ushering his assistant Kissy to take him to the VIP room and make some calls. This is of course bullshit. as she leads him to the exit basically and begins laughing manically. Fuck him, I guess. So with no other choice, Winston grabs his keys and his mops, dips it in some of that toxic super sludge and turning it into an almost mystical super weapon and holds the factory up, emptying the vault of cash. Meanwhile, this is all happening, a young reporter, JJ Doherty, is trying to break a big story on DTH when her boss is murdered in front of her, 3 times actually, but finally dying with a harpoon to the chest and falling out the 7th-story window. She makes a run for it, but accidentally drops a hard drive with the evidence on it, and it smashes to pieces. So guess who else is heading to the factory this fateful night? After Winston bags up the cash from the vault, he attempts to make his escape, when he runs into JJ, and the two knock each other down, spilling the cash everywhere and her losing her camera. Suddenly, the alarms go off. Oh shit, it's ICP and the Juggalo squad. No, but seriously, Bob has a brother, named Fritz, played hilariously by Elijah Wood in a costume that almost looks like Gargamel from the Smurfs. Well, Fritz also manages a band called the Killer Nuts, and these guys are clearly inspired by the Insane Clown Posse. And remember kids, it's not heavy metal or even rap metal, it's monstercore. Anyway, they come in and JJ is able to get over the fence, but it's too late for poor Winston. And before he can even utter a word, the lead vocalist shoots him in the face. This upsets Fritz because he has no idea who Winston is. He was coming to get that JJ woman, but since they already shot him, might as well dispose of that body. This big dude wearing a rooster mask drops poor little Winston in a giant vat of toxic sludge and waste and runs off immediately. The screen is then bombarded by a neon acid mushroom drug trip of lights and colours as the toxic goop rewrites Winston's DNA and even restores him back to life. Now, I'm gonna condense what happens in the next hour of this film because most of it is just him killing a bunch of people in gory over-the-top ways. Winston is trying to get back to his son, but now that he looks like a monster, he feels that not only did he let him down as a father, but now he can't even be in his life anymore because he's not even human now. However, a homeless doctor who isn't really a doctor encourages him to basically become a superhero. And his first stop is a small diner called Miss Meats, formerly known as Mr. Meats, which has apparently upset a few locals with the gender swap, so they are holding the whole building hostage with a bunch of artillery. Wow, that is stupid. Enter Toxie, who rips off a guy's jaw, pulls a guy's brains out through his asshole, plays table tennis with some guy's eyeballs, beats a guy with his own limbs, explodes another guy's head with his super mop. Let's just say there's a lot of violence. But he manages to save the day. The poor customers inside, although drenched in blood from the bad guys, are all otherwise completely unharmed, and some even stand up for Toxie when the police want to take him down. In fact, a hilarious moment precedes this when one of the villains stumbles out and the cop just screams he's resisting arrest, and the entire squad opens up with everything they got, tearing his body to shreds. Well, suffice it to say, his son eventually catches some of these heroic acts on the news and puts 2 and 2 together, that Toxie is his dad and happily ever after maybe? Wrong. Bob, who's in cahoots with the mob and owes them a shit ton of money, wants to use Toxie to make himself rich. Toxie didn't want any of that, so Fritz is sent out to kidnap his kid, and Toxie teams up with JJ to bring the fight to Bob. Bob does manage to get the upper hand and captures the two, and begins experimenting on Toxie, extracting his blood, and then of course drinks it, mutating himself into some kind of fucked up werewolf demon thing. Interesting. His assistant, who worships him, drinks the last few drops and turns into the Bride of Frankenstein, and they begin to set their plans in motion for world domination. That's until Toxie whips out his toxic member and pees some kind of corrosive acid onto the titanium chains he was bound with. freeing himself and JJ. Helpful, I guess. They then catch up to Bob and Kissy, and big ass monster battle happens. The film ends first with Bob getting his face slammed into a car engine and then getting chopped up by the gears, while Kissy gets electrocuted to death and then smashed by falling debris. Fritz survives, well, almost, but then gets shot in the head. RIP, my dude. And Toxie and JJ have a blossoming relationship. Nah. But they do become good friends. The final scene after the credits is just Toxie explaining how to make the perfect grilled cheese sandwich and serves his son some lunch. So, that wraps it up. Overall, the film was both terribly low budget, but also wildly hilarious in that super B-rated way. But I'll admit, it's definitely made for a very niche audience. So personally, I give the film a 7 out of 10. But again, if you don't like campy films, you may want to stay clear of this one. I want to thank you all for checking out the video. What did you think of the film? Are you a fan of Toxie and the rest of the franchise? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, share and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to mop up that bell icon to stay up to date with all our latest releases. I have been your host Sarah, and thank you for being here with me today. Have a wonderful day and take care. Goodbye.